Hello, my name's Alexander Aronson and I'm the Executive Secretary of the International Property Measurement Standard Coalition Standard Setting Committee. During the course of the next 5 minutes, I will be providing you with a quick overview of the International Property Measurement Standards Residential Buildings Consultation document. The consultation document is quite concise. It's only 30 pages long, and of those, 5 pages are the front cover and the introduction, and 16 pages are the floor plans and diagrams. So in reality, there's only 9 pages for you to read. The document covers measurement of residential apartments and dwellings, and we are adopting very much a proactive consultation process, and the consultation period is running from Monday the 15th of June until Friday the 25th of September. I would be extremely appreciative if you could read through this document and provide us with your responses in relation to the document, as the final standard will only be as good as the comments that we receive. So, what is IPMS residential buildings? IPMS residential buildings is a measurement standard. IPMS residential buildings applies to measurement of residential buildings and apartments, purpose-built and self-contained. What is it not? IPMS residential buildings is not a transaction or valuation standard, though measurements can be used for these purposes. IPMS residential buildings does not apply to hotels or student accommodation. You will notice that within the consultation document, there's 10 IPMS residential component areas. Under component areas, everything is measured, and therefore dual reporting is possible. It's a bit like Lego, except you choose the bits to include within your measurement and the bits to exclude from your measurement. From this diagram, you can see shaded the IPMS residential component areas for residential apartments and residential dwellings. If a component area is in multifunctional use, it's to be stated according to its principal use. Portions of the component areas may be classified as private, being reserved exclusively for one occupier, or shared, being available for the use of several occupiers, such as the common parts shown in the residential apartments diagram on the left. On this slide, you will see a copy of the IPMS residential component area spreadsheet. You will notice that there's 10 main component areas comprising of vertical penetrations, internal structural elements, internal non-structural elements, technical services, hygiene areas, circulation areas, amenities, living space, and other areas. You will also note within this diagram there are limited use areas. Limited use areas, though forming part of the main measurement, can also be separately stated. An example of a limited use area is such as an area with limited height, which you may want to separately quantify the measurement for valuation or other purposes. IPMS comprises of 3 main standards. The first of these standards is IPMS 1, which is equivalent to GEA and measures the external area of a property. IPMS 1 is used for measuring the area of a building, including external walls, and in some markets it can be used by parties for planning purposes or the summary costings of development proposals. The definition of IPMS 1 is the sum of each floor level of a building measured to the outer perimeter of external construction features. It should be noted that IPMS 1 is the same for all classes of building, so equally applies to office, industrial and retail buildings as well. The second main standard is IPMS 2 Residential, which deals with the internal area of the building and is equivalent to gross internal area. IPMS 2 is used for measuring the interior boundary area in a residential building. It can be used to provide data on the use of space for benchmarking and marketing, and it enables users and service providers to make direct floor space comparisons between data from different market practices. IPMS 2 Residential is defined as the sum of the areas of each floor level of a residential building measured to the internal dominant face. One of the main differences within the International Property Measurement Standard is the way that we measure to the internal dominant face. If you look around the room you're sitting in, imagine that the wall is divided into vertical sections comprising of bits of the room that either recessed or protruding. So, all the internal dominant face really means is if the majority of that section of the wall is glass, you measure to the glass, and if the majority of that section of the wall is finished paint surface, then you measure to the finished paint surface. The final standard is IPMS 3 Residential, and this deals with the occupier area, and it's equivalent to net internal area. And IPMS 3 Residential generally measures those floor areas in exclusive use. It can be defined as the floor area available on an exclusive basis to an occupier. However, you will note that within IPMS 3 there are three variations, A, B and C, and therefore it's necessary for users to specify which variation they are measuring, and in some cases they'll be measuring more than one. IPMS 3A can be defined as the area in exclusive occupation measured to the external face of the exterior wall, the centre line of shared walls between occupants, and the finished surface of walls shared with common use. IPMS 3B is the second variation, and this is the area in exclusive occupation measured to the internal dominant face, the centre line of shared walls between occupants, and the finished surface of walls shared with common facilities. The final variation is called IPMS 3C Residential, and it's the area in exclusive occupation excluding the floor area occupied by full height internal walls and columns measured to the internal dominant face and the finished surface of all full height internal perimeters. You will notice that in addition to the consultation document, we have also provided a consultation document response form. The consultation is running from the 15th of June until Wednesday the 30th of September, and we would be extremely appreciative if you could send in your responses using this form, as it will make it easier for us to collate the responses and take into account your comments contained within. You will also notice that at the front of the consultation document there are 10 specific questions. We'd be extremely grateful if you could provide us to an answer to all these questions. You'll notice that the final question is, do you have any other comments? This gives you the opportunity to make comments on matters in relation to the document which you don't feel have as yet been considered. That more or less completes the presentation. The only bit that I'd like to add is that within the consultation response form there is also the opportunity to respond to the consultation document on a section by section basis. So please feel free, in addition to answering the questions, that if you want to, you can respond to any particular section that you feel should be clarified. Thank you for your time.